The very first message I received from somebody is, where did you get that strength from? Thank you for sharing your testimony. I put the gun down after I read your story. And I was like, wait, what?
Welcome to Shaping Freedom with Lisan Basquiat, the podcast where we help you unlock your potential and redefine what it means to be free. I'm your host, Lisan Basquiat. I'm a former corporate executive, a life strategist, and the founder of Shaping Freedom. With a background spanning corporate, artistic, and personal development, I bring a unique perspective to empowering others. Listen in to discover inspiring stories and practical insights that will help you reclaim your life and rewrite your narrative. My intention is for you to gain the tools and motivation to be free in your relationships, your communities, and within yourself. This, my friends, is Shaping Freedom. You know how you can sometimes not know what a person's going through by the smile that they present on their face? My conversation today is with Garrain Jones. Today, Garrain is a top personal development coach. He's also the best-selling author of the book, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life. He did just that. Garrain's story is a powerful example of how mindset can transform even the toughest of circumstances. This conversation is not about the things that happened in his life, but more about the ways that he's been able to transform it through changing his mindset and through the strength in his vulnerability. He also shares how he's built a brand new family legacy and shares with us some actionable insights for personal growth. It's a very inspiring conversation, packed with loads of wisdom. Here's my conversation with Garrain Jones. So really excited to have this conversation today with Garrain Jones. Garrain is a top personal development coach and the author of the best-selling book and life-changing book, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life. And before we get into that conversation, typically we start the podcast going into some history to kind of like bring folks to where we are today. And today we're going to do this a little bit differently because I understand that there is some backstory that Garrain is going to share about his and Billy Johnson, who happens to be of Media Repertoire, who does PR for us. I understand that there's some tie-in here, so I would love for you, Garrain and Billy, y'all just go ahead and talk, and then we'll get into it once we kind of fill that in. So here are Garrain Jones and Billy.
First and foremost, thank you so much for having me on. And when Billy reached out to me, it instantly unlocked how much support he gave. I mean, I never forget when I was in my lowest points or when I was trying to figure out artistry and music, there were a few people that was just like, well, I have a platform. Let me support you. And they never asked for any money, never asked for anything. It just was always thorough and real. If there was talent there and there was a good person, Billy, you are one of them. And I literally never forget, even no matter what I'm doing in the world, traveling to 98 countries and earning millions, inspiring millions, all of that stuff is out of the window when it comes to, I remember when I was like young and hungry and going in and out of labels and trying to do this independent thing. And then people would not give me an opportunity, and they had a platform, and because they wanted money and they wanted certain things, it was just weird. With you, Billy, you're just like, man, if you're a good person, I would love to support great people. And I never forgot that. So it's so great to come back 14 years later and still see that same smile, that same humility, and then you'd be like, "Hey, Garen, I represent this person. I would love an opportunity to then also support you on this platform." So I thank you for all of those years and believing me, because you gave me hope. And how I support people is when I find great person, just like great, and they work hard. I'm like, well, I have a platform and I model the way that you were with me with other people.
Whoa. Oh man, that's so humbling. I love you, brother, and I appreciate you. I'm so proud of you. And you know, the same thing, what the energy that you're emitting now, that's what I saw, when we met all those years ago. And honestly, I feel like this is an extension of that, because this is how you're utilizing your music, You Are My Sunshine, one of the songs. I mean, you were using music to touch people, and let them know, who they were and what they could contribute to the world, and hoping that they saw that. And that made me feel good. You're hella talented on top of that. And why wouldn't I want to share that through the platform that I was utilizing at the time, Yahoo Music, why wouldn't I want
Hey,
why wouldn't I want the Yahoo, music community to be introduced, to what you were doing at the time, amid, everything else that was happening, in the space at the time. So I was very proud to do that. And I had no idea when I found out later about some of the hardships that you were experiencing, at that time. And I know you and Lisan will get into some of that conversation. Probably I had no idea. And that's also a testament of who you are as a person. You're the walking example of, whoa, if thank God I don't look like what I'm going through, I had no idea, because the way that you showed up, always a beautiful attitude, always a beautiful spirit. Um, and so, yeah, I considered it a blessing to have encountered you. And I wish we had kept better contact, but we'll do better going forward. And thank you so
for
much
sure.
for that DM. Like, you just right immediately, you're just like, let's do it. I appreciate you. And congratulations on your beautiful family. And thank you, Lisan. I'm sorry for interrupting.
You're not interrupting. Don't go anywhere. I want to hear. So, how did you all meet? You were going to tell a story about how you actually met.
Was it Twitter?
No, no, your manager at the time brought you to the office. That's my recollection.
Yeah, you're right. I got introduced. I don't even remember who my manager was at the time. I don't even remember. There's so much. I was such in a dark place
Mm,
and trying to force my happiness, but with a little bit coming out. But there's a lot that I don't remember. But I do remember Michelle, but I don't remember her introducing me. She introduced me to a lot of people,
yeah.
and I'm grateful that through that
Hmm.
relationship, we got to connect.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so, the way it went, I was a content producer, senior editor at Yahoo Music, at the time. And our team, we managed relationships with record labels, and we're always looking at new music and artists, trying to determine what we were gonna new content we were gonna feature on the site. That was our bread and butter. A mixture of, like, who are the superstars that we need to have on, the site to generate traffic, but, like, also finding opportunities to spotlight, rising artists, um like Garrain at the time. And so through that, he came, to the office for a meeting, played some music, and we just had a connection.
Okay, I'm remembering now. I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember we moved offices several times over the 18 years that I worked there, but I remember which office we were in. You came, and we instantly made a connection, and we kept in contact. And I didn't always do that. And I didn't always, I always kept it very, very professional. Like, hey, we do our exchange. I'm not trying to get your phone number, like, but in the instances where there was a real genuine connection, we did keep in contact. And I know over a course of a year or two or whatever, there were more follow-ups. Hey, I got another song, or let's meet, let's talk, let's hear more music. And I was impressed with it all. you know. So yeah, just a blessing. So I really thanks for that opportunity. And I'm so glad that we're having this moment right now.
Let's go. That
Yeah,
fires
okay.
me up. I'm remembering The Office now. I'm
Yeah,
remembering. Yeah, it's all starting to come back now. So that was really cool. Thank you so
yeah,
much
yeah,
for sharing.
What I appreciate about being kind of a sister on the wall watching this is it first of all, everything that you say about Billy is everything that, uh, I think most people experience, of Billy, which is his heart and his commitment, and he does what he says he's going to do, and he shows up, and he, rolls his sleeves up and just wants to know what it is that you wanna do, and he's in there to do it. And that's rare. We don't always get to encounter that. So I'll echo what Garen says about you as a human being, Billy, because I really, really, really appreciate you. The second thing that I think is a great opening for our continued conversation, Garen, is how important it is for us to pay attention to the ways that we treat people and these encounters that we have with individuals. Because while there are some experiences that are not the great experiences that we have in our past that we remember, we also, and I hope more so, remember those encounters with people who meet us where we are, whether they know where we are or not, and help to serve as a spirited catalyst to the next out of something into the next chapter of our lives. And so it has been beautiful to witness this, 14 years later, these two men, having lived 14 years in between and all the things that happen, in between, to witness you two coming back together and being able to be, give each other like the virtual high five and be like, yo, I was here then and you helped me. And, kind of being able to see that because I think, there's a lot happening in the world and people, you don't always know based on a person's smile or their excitement or enthusiasm where they truly are on the inside. So I think that this is like a beautiful, beautiful way for us to open this conversation. Uh, where this man got to meet this man, and without knowing all the backstory, and be have as impactful an interaction as one that you remembered 14 years later, Garen, even if you don't remember everything that was happening, you know, in your life at that time. So,
Right.
yeah, thank you all for letting me bear witness to that because that's really beautiful. Billy Johnson Jr., thank you so much.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you guys
He's
have
like,
a
let me
wonderful
out of here.
conversation. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay,
Don't
have a
go
great
far. Don't
conversation.
go far.
Okay, thank you.
Karen,
Hi, friend.
hello, friend. It's really nice to meet you in person or in virtual person.
It's nice to meet you as well.
I'm really honored to be able to have this conversation with you because I think that what you represent for so many people is a walking testament to what it looks like to when you go through a past that is maybe less than ideal, and I'll leave it to you to kind of fill us in on who you are, where you've come from, and how you got here, to the extent that you can. But I find it so inspiring to witness individuals who have been through some things and who are able to come out of it on the other side, walk through it, process it, and then be in service to other people who are themselves going through their own journey. You show you're a testament to how things aren't permanent, even when they feel like maybe they are in the moment. So I want to speak a lot about what you're doing today and what's happening in your life. I want to talk a bit about your family legacy that you're building and all of that. But before that, I would really love for you to share a little bit about some of your experiences and how they shaped your outlook on life.
Yeah, I could have probably written a best-selling book by the time I was 6 years old based off of the things that I had overcome, thinking that that lifestyle was actually normal.
Mhm.
I thought everybody had parents who separated. I thought everybody had the lights get cut off and mom had to figure out how to wire an extension cord from one house to the next. I thought it was normal because I didn't know anything other about any other families. So I grew up, and this is two part. My father was murdered when I was 12 years old. I would go in and out of juvenile, in and out of jail as a ripple effect of just not having proper grounding at home. My mom was always working and had to play the role of the mom and the dad, which a mother can only do so much when it comes to trying to portray a man and vice versa. So it was her best depiction of the role of father while working, while my brother was too cool to hang out with me. So basically, I'm just attention from anywhere, somebody. And growing up, just being different and saying, I feel like I'm not supposed to be here. I feel like I'm supposed to move away someday, and wearing the kind of clothes that I want to wear, but not feeling like I fit in anywhere because it was really weird in elementary growing up in the early 80s because all the light skinned guys had a softer grade of hair, and I had coarse hair. And so people would literally say, how are you light skinned with slave hair? And I don't even know what that means as a little kid. I wanted to fit in with who I look like, but then I was rejected by who I look like, but I was different than who I wanted to be like. I sat right in the middle of, I don't know who I am, so I need some attention, but my mom is always at work, and my brother is too good to hang out with me. He's 4 years older than me. And I'm just like, well, I'm gonna wear these long socks, this big yellow backpack, and everybody's making fun of me. I had slightly red hair, freckles. So it's like, everything that you could pick on me from, I actually experienced, not knowing where and who I connected to or anything, and getting casted out all groups. The only people that wanted to hang out with me were troublemakers. And so I naturally did what they did, which was breaking into cars, breaking into houses. But you become the sum total of the environment of the people that you hang out with the most. And if they recognize you, a flower that has sun leans towards the sun. The sun's I mean, the flower's version of the sun is recognition and celebration. And so when I'm hanging out with troublemakers and everything, and I was never in a gang, but I ran around with gang members, middle school, high school, I already know where that life is going to head. I didn't know it at that time.
Yeah.
But if you can understand how ABCs works, ABCs turn the evolution turns into sentences, paragraphs, essays, books, libraries. The ABC version of seeking approval in negative environments, done over and over and over and over and over time, that's where I landed up in and out of jail. I was in prison serving a 12-year prison sentence, got out in 2.5 years from 2002 to 2005. I cheated on every girlfriend I ever had. I was breaking into cars, breaking into homes. Like, it was my domestication of the people that brought me in because I wasn't getting love or what I needed. I wasn't getting my needs met anywhere else. So that's the sum total of where I came from. Fast forward, getting out of prison, signing a record deal with Ludacris at DTP Def Jam, and it's the first time in my life I'm actually getting notoriety. People saying, "Oh my God, you're amazing! You're amazing! You're amazing!" I don't know what to do with that, so naturally, that became my new community that I hung out with. I hung out with notoriety, and naturally I'm like, yes, I'm amazing. I didn't know what ego was. I didn't have a mentor. So I became a talented person that presented himself as humble. In my heart, I was, but I didn't know what to do with all of this recognition. So I got it because I didn't get it at home. And I'm like, oh, I want it so bad. I will do anything to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, I leave the record deal. I'm going to do it by myself. And that became the hardest time of my life. And then by myself ultimately didn't have any money coming in. Then I was living in my car, still trying to portray the famous celebrity or whatever it is the mask that I was trying to show. And then it was at one point I had to get really, 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 really real. Either I die or I'm going to do something about it. Because right now I'm sleeping in an abandoned building. I'm sleeping in my storage unit. I'm sleeping in my car. That's 2.5 years. So coming into closing, which I know this was a lot. It's a lot to digest, but somebody out there right now is going through the same thing and they just need to hear a relatable person that says, you know what, I can too. I cried out 3:43 in the morning. Okay, I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. I just want to inspire people and I want to make a bunch of money, but I want the money to represent something that I passionately believe in that I would do for free. Show me a sign. Well, it's been 14 years since that time. I'm surrounded by positive people. I'm healthy. I'm happy. And I earn a bunch of money doing what I would actually do for free, which is empower people to be their greatest selves and reparent the part of themselves because adults are deteriorated children to live in their highest light and then and express themselves in a way where their life actually works, their whole entire life.
There is so much that you said
A lot.
there. I thank you. Thank you. That's generous. Um, there are a few things in there. One is what happens when a person is out in the world with no anchor.
Mm.
And what happens in the world when a person is out there in the world with no anchor and not and also not having the anchor that exists just in your being. I shared a similar, and I actually talked to a friend about that this weekend, a similar experience where I grew up in Boerum Hill, Brooklyn, and in a predominantly white neighborhood and went to public school. And I'm first generation. So my father was from Haiti, an immigrant from Haiti. And I walked the planet as a young person, not feeling like I belonged anywhere because so much of my life was different from everyone that was around me. And there were aspects of my life that could be similar, but in totality, I didn't know anyone else who experienced the things that I had experienced. I had
Yeah.
a mother who was mentally ill. My father was my primary caretaker. So I was raised primarily by a man. I'm light skinned and I was too light skinned for a lot of my friends and not white. I spoke funny. Had interest in things that people would make fun of. And so it was really challenging to exist as a young person, not feeling that connection or that cultural or community anchor with other people.
I can hear your story and mine are very similar.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Do you know that we have a line of Shaping Freedom wellness products? Each are beautifully crafted and designed to support you in cherishing your mind, body, emotions, and soul. Carve out a sanctuary in your life with our Luxe sustainable yoga and meditation mats, essential oil candles, and more. Embrace self-care and reflection with every item, lovingly created to enhance your daily practice of spending time on you. Elevate your wellness journey with Shaping Sanctuary Collection because you deserve to feel balanced, nurtured, and inspired. Visit shapingsanctuary.com for more information.
And then to get to this point where I went through a series of things, looking for attention, looking for acceptance, looking to be understood, wanting people to see me, to truly see me, and to see not what they wanted to see or not through the lens of their own um, BS, but to really see me as, for who I was and am. And getting to this point where that I forgot about, Garrain, until you just shared yours, where I had this moment. I found myself living, with a guy who was in and out of jail. I had a child. I was going through all kinds of craziness that I was in no way prepared for. And I had this moment of laying on the floor in my living room and crying out and saying, okay, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I need you to take care of this. Not my way, your way, please, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm.
And I got to tell you, because because you just shared it. So I know okay, 6 months later, my life was completely different. Completely different. And I didn't know how. I never could have orchestrated and structured things the way that they actually happen. They just started to happen. And they happened because I was clear about what I wanted.
And you were in peak state too, so it's beautiful. It's like those who
Exactly.
know who knows, and it's like
Yes.
I know you. I see it in
Yes.
respect. I see you. So
Yes.
totally.
And vice versa, vice versa. And I don't often get to talk to people who have had that kind of an experience. So I'm so excited,
Yeah.
even more excited now, So you gave it up. You asked for something, you gave it up, and you embarked on your 14-year journey.
Yeah.
And you wrote a book
Yeah.
at some point in there as a testament to everything that you've learned. Let's talk about mindset, because I know in kind of like following you and reading some of the things about you, that mindset is a huge part of your journey. And I know that there was an encounter that you had, another encounter um, at a gas station. So is that the next part of the story? Because I don't want to tell it. I don't want to.
Well, I basically summarized it up, but I can take this and weave it into what I'm doing today, if that's what you need.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So when I was asking, and I said, "Okay, okay," a week later, I was at the gas station, and homeless guy asked me for money, and I said, "You have more money than me." Like literally, had a wad of money. I had $2, and I was in L.A. in Inglewood shooting an independent film. Had $2 to my name, and gas was like $3.49. So I couldn't even get 1 gallon. And he asked me for money. I'm like looking at this wad of money. I say, "You have more money than me." And he said, "Change your mindset, change your life," and just walks away. And I've heard motivational quotes before. Something about this was different. It was like a conscious interrupt. And it really interrupted the lie I'd been telling myself. And it made me think, well, change your mindset. So if your mind is set on something, that's why the result is what it is. So if I do the opposite of everything I wouldn't normally do in areas of my life where I wasn't happy with my relationships, I wasn't happy in my family, I wasn't happy with my money, business, I wasn't happy friendships, in damn near every area of my life. So clearly, it's got to be something I'm doing because I can't change the news, the weather. I can't change my skin color. Can't change the president. Like right now, as I stand with all these issues. I mean, you can vote, but like people put so much power into everything and everyone outside of them that they don't even realize that the power belongs here. And so when I realized in the moment, I can't change any of those people, but I can change myself. What am I doing that I can change? I asked myself that, like in this moment, and something told me to just start doing the opposite. Train yourself to do the opposite. So normally I would take the stairs. I would take the escalator. Change your mindset, change your life. Literally, I started taking the stairs. Normally I would use gel soap. Change your mindset, change your life. Then I started using bar soap. Normally I would chase women at the nightclubs. Change your mindset, change your life. I started chasing a better version of myself. And so I started altering these things that I knew that I could do, but these small little wins started doubling and tripling every day. A penny that grows every day for 30 days is like $10.4 million. So when you start doing the opposite in areas of your life where you're not happy, and these little small victories and wins, the same way that an avalanche can come down and these rocks start bouldering, when you think about your life and you start building up the little pebbles to create this giant rock, it starts to create a momentum in your life, but it's going upwards. It starts to expand. You start expanding and thinking and looking and perceiving life different because you're getting daily little wins in areas where you felt maybe like a loser, like you felt unworthy, and all those things. Well, over time, so many people would, I don't know why I was inspired to post what I was going through on social media. So long before it became popular, I would just post my journey. I would get the most beautiful messages, not in the comment section. People respond in comments differently than they do when they know that it's private.
Mhm.
So many people saying, "You changed my life. I'm so inspired. I'm so inspired. I'm so inspired." And then once I decided to like truly go all out and be vulnerable and share what I'm growing through and where I'm going to go and what I'm willing to do to get there, so long as its integrity, the very first message I received from somebody is, "Where did you get that strength from? Thank you for sharing your testimony. I put the gun down after I read your story." And I was like, "Wait, what?" Mind you, I'm just coming out of music where I'm like, what am I going to do? So I share the real in a world full of masks. And the first message I get, "I put the gun down when you shared your testimony." I was like, my story saved somebody's life?
Yeah.
I know why I'm here, to be the voice of the voiceless, or the parts of people that they haven't yet given certain parts of them a voice. It might not be the most popular, might not have the most followers, but when I speak from that place of truth and vulnerability, humility, struggle, here's what I learned. Maybe this can help you. It penetrates so many walls that people keep up through survival. And I've been able to connect with people who are deeply struggling, that just needed to see an example of what's possible from someone that they can actually relate to, not somebody who studied a course and whatever. Be like, "Hey, you need to do this." You don't know my damn struggle. So I connected with the people who shut everybody else out. And I was like, I know my purpose. I know why I'm here. And it's been 14 years and I never stopped. And I put out a book based off the things that people kept saying that deeply impacted me. That's why I knew it was going to be a best-selling book, because those people don't have nobody to really speak for them.
Right. You know, we all have a strategy to get the results that we get out of our lives. And we're all life strategists. And what you demonstrate is what it looks like when a person decides to acknowledge the fact that they're actually a strategist. And you have a strategy to get the results that you don't want to have, and there's a strategy to get the results that you actually do want to have. But you have to first be willing to accept accountability for what's happening in your life. And that doesn't say that, there are things that happen that are beyond, um, that aren't, that you can't be blamed for. I mean, there are some experiences that we all have in our childhood that are not great. We don't have control over that, but what we do have control over is our willingness to take accountability for where we're going with those experiences, having
Absolutely.
experienced those things,
Yeah.
and there's a snowball that happens, right? And that's the visual for me, when you were describing kind of that pebble, right? And a lot of folks take that pebble and it snowballs into bad thing after bad thing after bad thing after bad thing until it becomes so big that you no longer remember where the center of the rocks are that are within that snowball. And what you've done is you've taken that same concept, but you've applied it to positive things. Like, what
Right.
happens when I do the opposite of what I was doing before, that had me on a path that didn't feel good to me and that didn't feel in alignment with who I really am?
Yeah. Now I want to speak to that because when I was younger and I experienced like so many things that like the deep struggles, I literally used to call out to God. I'm like, God, why does it feel like I'm living 15, 20 different people's lives? Why do I have to go through all of this? Fast forward to traveling to 98 countries all over the world and speaking to more than 2.7 million people. But it's the range of people. It's not this one typical kind of person. I mean, 70-year-olds, 18-year-olds, little kids, black, white, trans, non-trans, vax, non-vax. There's a through line and there is a soul on soul connection. And now I'm like, oh, God was preparing me for the mission to actually connect with humanity on a soul level. You cannot connect with humanity on a soul level if you're not coming from the soul. If you're coming from, oh my God, the weather, it's so cold, and this person right here, I can't do this because I'm black, because I'm white, because I'm a woman, and these are all real things for real people. And, and there's also deeper levels. And on the soul level, which is not in the 3D, it's not on a I see you, you see me. That's something you can't see, but you can see the effect of it. On the soul level, I'm here to do soul work. There's other people that were designed to do the LGBTQ rights activation and the Black Power rights activation and the women's activation. There are people that were designed for that. I actually wasn't designed to actually do that. I'm designed to connect with the child who didn't feel seen, who didn't feel loved, who didn't feel heard, and who never got the proper opportunity to feel love without boundaries.
Yeah.
That is my role, is to be the bridge so that the little kid inside of the adult is actually happy.
And you're succeeding at it.
Yeah, because it's not something that I tried to force. I looked at my life and I was like, how can I do this so effortlessly? Why do I have so much bandwidth, staying power? Why do I rarely get tired and I'm talking back to back, 70,000 people on stage, 50,000 people, country after country. They're like, yo, you never run out of energy, or I'm powered by a different energy source.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that my past is like a slingshot. You pull it back, and there's resistance. You pull it back. If it's like a little pullback, oh, that little pebble is gonna be boop, all cute. There's pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back. God, stretch. Oh, just stretch, stretch, stretch. But when that door opened, the real door, not the human-made door, the ordained door, All of that resistance was actually my flying lesson, because I know that God knew what he designed me before. And so when I said yes, it takes a certain caliber of a person. And that's why I can go into prisons. I can go into damn near any neighborhood, and speak on so many levels, like literally so many levels. The multimillionaire, the business, the CFO founder, the jail prison level, the entertainment level, the art level, the little kid level, because it was a part of my life. And my goal is to be like, yo, your life is actually an imprint for what you're actually meant to do. So let's align this so that the energy goes through and it doesn't get dispersed and missed through the weapons of mass distraction.
Right, and diluted. And which is where so many people sit. It's like I got this going on and I don't know what my boundaries are and I don't know who I am and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, and that's exhausting. It's exhausting. I love the terminology flying lesson. Like that is what a visual for that.
That bird get pushed out of the nest, boom, and then it get up again, boom, and then all of a sudden the body calibrates. And then all of a sudden, magically, what was already inside that bird that doesn't even know that it's a bird. The bird's not trying to be an alligator or a fish.
Mhm. Mhm.
The bird is literally experiencing resistance, learning how to calibrate and adjust, and what was already inside of it, all of a sudden it's like flight.
Right. Because you can't find it out there. It has to you have to clear the runway, your internal runway, to allow it up and out of you. And we're taught something that's the complete opposite of that.
Totally
Like,
opposite.
get out there, make that money, you'll be happy. Get out there, take that right filtered Instagram photo, you'll feel a certain thing.
HaraHub Carlsbad is a co-working space and member community designed to empower entrepreneurs. More than just a workspace, HaraHub Carlsbad is a business accelerator and a connected network of successful entrepreneurs. Imagine a collaborative, serene, and spa-inspired environment where you can thrive. Our unique community allows each member to be both a guide and a student, fostering leadership and continuous growth for both you and your business. Experience an uplifting, supportive atmosphere that will elevate your entrepreneurial journey. For more information about HaraHub Carlsbad or to schedule a tour, visit harahub.com/Carlsbad. We also have locations in Temecula, Irvine, Washington, D.C., and HaraHub Carlsbad is one of 3 HaraHub locations in San Diego, the others being in Mission Valley and La Jolla.
I have a client that's worth $850 million. Could buy anything that he wants. Beautiful company, all these different things. When I first started working with him, he said, I thought this was the goal, only to realize I don't really have any friends, no real relationship with my family, and I don't have fun anymore. I'm basically like a walking dead person. And all I support him with, tapping into his inner child so he can harmonize his whole life, so that his whole life becomes enriched and successful.
I love that. You made mention of, you said that adults are deteriorating children.
Deteriorated children, yes.
Deteriorated children. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Well, think about this. You grow up in the house. Whatever house you grow up in, however they talk, in the beginning stages, that's how you talk.
Because you get programmed.
That's the domestication. Like literally, it's a program.
Mhm.
And so just like even the news program, whose mind you think they're programming, whoever watches it. So there's a program, there's a system. People so quick, they're trying to change the people. You don't change the people, you change the system. The system changes the people. This is why public schools haven't changed in 400 years, because probably they wanted basic ass kids to turn into basic ass adults that act like kids. Now it makes sense why there's 2% wealthy and the rest will die trying to figure it out. And most people go to their grave, like nine is a crazy number. Like 98% of people go to their grave with less than $75 in the bank. It don't start when you're an adult. It actually starts when you're a kid, because from ages 0 to 7 is the installation period.
That's right.
ABCs, numbers, balance, all of that. Like what you think love is and why you keep attracting the same kind of guy or the same kind of girl that reminds you of your mom or your father. It's because that was the example of the model. And if there was domestic abuse and then your mom kept going back, she said, but I love him. So therefore, you're willing to take abuse and then call that love and wonder why you don't feel seen and heard. And anybody that will treat you better than you treat yourself is what you will call love, when in fact,
right.
It's actually torturous for the soul. So all of this is installed in the childhood domestication. So if you can look at that and then say, okay, so the evolution of that child, the source of when I made decisions, how I made decisions, all these traumas and triggers, to look at the surface level is to literally deny the person that you've denied your entire life. And so when you stop denying, oh my goodness, I keep attracting another version of my dad because I hadn't healed from the wound where he abandoned me or treated my mom bad. And then when you start looking at the source of the impact, which is where most of the power is, and then you work on the source of the impact and heal from there, all of a sudden, the traumas and triggers don't hold the kind of weight on the surface level adult.
Right, because the hook's gone.
Right.
The weed has been pulled.
And what we do as little kids is, oh, I want to be always something massive. And then all of a sudden, life weighs you down. Life makes fun of you. They tell you what the American dream is. They tell you what's hot. They tell you what's fashionable. They'll tell you what the in crowd is. They'll tell you. And then what we do is naturally go to where all the energy is. Just like flowers, just like sun to a flower. We'll go based off of how humans are habitual creatures, wherever the energy is. For most people, not everybody, for most people, we will do that. Well, guess what? The majority of children are trained by fear. There's fear in school. There's fear on the news. There's fear, fear, fear. Don't go in the street because you can get killed. Fear, 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 fear. So if you are domesticated in fear, you can be controlled by fear.
Mm-hmm.
If you can be controlled by fear, then it would make sense why when you turn on the TV and all they ever play is destruction and fear and frantic and scarcity. Oh, you got to do this. You got to buy all this toilet paper roll. You got to do this. You got to do this. And I'm like looking because see, I wasn't really domesticated in fear because I got in trouble. I got kicked out. My mom says, "Why do you have to wear that? How come you don't do as I tell you?" I'm like, "Mom, I was 5. Ask me if I love it." I didn't even know I was fighting for my own freedom. So me getting kicked out protected me from the domestication. So because I didn't get binded by the domestication, I can see the actual domestication because you can't see the picture while you're in the frame.
That's right.
So I can literally see the games where we're getting played on each other. I win, you lose. Blue, red, blue, independent. Everybody's fighting each other. Black, whites, women, man, trans, non-trans. I'm like, yo, I don't want to fight with nobody. I just want to love you. And I don't want to live in a world. Clearly, I'm passionate about this subject. I don't want to live in a world where because you have a difference of opinion, I hate you, which is what's glorified. So we go to what's glorified. And because I didn't get domesticated by the system that I kept getting kicked out of. Got kicked out of school, got was never at home. My mom wasn't, so I never got domesticated by it. Also, I lived in Los Angeles for 20 something years, and I was born and raised in Texas, and I lived back in Texas. So I literally got to see the difference of both sides. I also lived in New York for 2 years. I also lived overseas. And so I'm like, wait a second. This is an entire game of control that I choose not to play. So I'm going to create a game that I actually like playing
So you can enjoy.
so that I can actually enjoy my journey. And so, God, use me to communicate a message to humanity. Teach them what I taught you.
Mm, that's it. Simple. Maybe not always easy, but simple.
Not easy, but it's very simple. Teach the people what I taught you. Outside freedom doesn't determine freedom. It's the power to possess your own mind and use it for good in yourself, which overflows into the world.
You know, I was at a baseball game once, and if there was ever a performance of the way that demonstrates the way that we were programmed, it was that moment for me. That was when I witnessed this, where we're at a baseball game and apparently, there are two teams. And if you're rooting for one team, you cannot compliment the other team member, even when what they did was fantastic, right? Because you then get ostracized by the other team because you cannot do that. Those are the rules of the game. So if you're a team A, you got to be there for team A and you must boo team B, no matter what they do, whether they do great or not. Nor can you have compassion for team B when something bad happens. And in that moment of watching that baseball game, Garrain, I realized that for us in this country, that's the programming that we've been raised by. And it's like this great tradition, like, let's go out and get programmed. And we're going to get programmed while we're eating a hot dog and, drinking soda or drinking beer or whatever people do at these games.
That's so good. Oof.
It was like crystal clear to me how we're able to exist in this warped mental state that has taken so many of us so far away from who we really are because we're programmed in school, we're programmed in sports, and it's all about division. It's all about us against them. It's all about, I'm not going to have compassion for Garrain because Garrain is wearing a red shirt and I'm wearing a black sweatshirt. So therefore, Garrain is on the other side. And I'm going to strip Garrain of his humanity in my eyes and in my heart. But you cannot do that without taking away from yourself. You cannot be in judgment of other people and strip them of their humanity without stripping yourself
Mm.
of the same. So we literally have, and I'm not even talking about beyond this country, although I know there are people who listen. In this country, I'll speak about, we have a country of people who need the work that you're doing, the work that I'm doing, to help them to remember who the heck they are and why they're here, so that noise gets diminished to the point where you can actually be in communication with the relationship you're in with yourself and also with your creator. So you can have those conversations, so you can cry out and hear the answer. I'm so inspired by you, sir. So inspired by your story. I have two things, and I know we're over time. I have two things that I must ask you before we get off this call. I would love for you to share a little bit about your soulmate treasure list. And I'd love for you to do that because it's kind of like another, you already shared a similar type of an
Yeah.
experience, but I think that it would help people to just share it.
Well, one, I never saw myself with a soulmate. I never ever saw myself being married. I was never going to have another kid. I have a 22, almost 23-year-old daughter named Kylia. I have our daughter Soul, and then we have a 9-week-old named Chief that was born a couple months ago. And so I was never going to get married. So I was pretty much like ladies' man on the low all the time. And so it wasn't a part of my plan. It was a part of a plan, but it wasn't part of my plan to get married. And every book that I read that had love and relationships in it, I would always skip the chapter every single time. And one day when coming back from Brazil, I was reading this book for like the 10th time named When God Winks. It's the first edition. I think they had like 6 or 7 editions, but the first edition, When God Winks. And I just decided to read the soulmate chapter. It spoke about you get to be picky and you got to be really clear with what you want. Write these 3 categories on a clean sheet of paper. And the first category is all the attributes that you would want in a soulmate. And and the second category was how you wanted to feel in the relationship. And the third category is the top 5 places where you will meet this person that you've never been to before and make sure that it's aligned to the attributes.
Mm.
I've written a list before, but it had 2 things on it. And I would get the 2 things. So I went to write the list and it was like 6 things. And I was like, oh, I'm being too picky. I should stop. And I was like, wait a second. This is probably the issue. I'm very picky in business, in business partners. I'm picky in a lot in my fashion, clothing. Why, when it comes to this relationship, I'm actually settling.
Mm.
So I proceeded to write a list. And at the top of the list, I said, whoever holds these coordinates will have my babies and will be my wife. And I'm thinking it's an impossible person. So I write down 62 attributes. I mean, loves God, great hygiene, color don't even matter to me. I'm just like, I just want you to be a great person that's masculine and can easily slip into her feminine, knows how to make her own money, but loves being taken care of, loves reading, loves personal growth. I'm in like the perfect list. I'm like, this person doesn't exist. how I wanted to how I wanted to be treated is to be seen and felt and recognized for who I really am without me having to say it. And then the top 5 places like art galleries and all type of things. And I put personal development seminar and I circled and started. I lost that list, lost it for several years. In the midst of me losing that list, my daughter, who I had an estranged relationship with, came back into my life. And I don't think anything of it. I'm just like, something is different. I do this silent retreat and I figure out I am the most powerful representation of who my daughter will marry one day. And I shifted my own identity inside of that relationship. So I naturally started seeing myself different. So I treated her different. We started developing love and trust. And I'm like, man, I would want a woman that's like just like my daughter. Wow, I'm seeing these traits and characteristics I've never seen. I'm sitting there acknowledging her mom for teaching her these things. She like cooked for me when I didn't ask and I was tired. wash my clothes. And I'm like, damn, I was like, these women in LA just want to go out to eat. I haven't had a woman ever do this for me except for my mom.
Yeah.
And so I was falling in love with my daughter, not thinking anything. And then I opened up my heart. I had never even opened up my heart to my own mom. And so I opened up my heart to my daughter. When I opened up my heart, interesting, a week later, that's when I met my now wife of 5 years, Blair. Um, and I met her at a personal development seminar, which was circled and starred. She treated me how I wanted to, how I had written down. At the time, I didn't know any of these things. I was just like, there's just something about this. Every time I come in contact with this person, and it was like there's like this thing that goes up inside me. It's like, "Rrr." I was like, what is that feeling? I found the list that I had made when I was spring cleaning because she was like, I would love to support you in cleaning your home because a woman's touch, I don't mean to like generalize, but that is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she supported me in cleaning my home. I found my, and at this time, we were just friends. But I was like, there's something different about her. And I was like, I found this soulmates list. Read it. I read it. All 62 attributes she had. And I was like, oh my God. We went on our first date after that. And when I looked at her, it was like this portal opened up into the future. I've been with so many different kind, black, white, Mexican, da 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 da. Every Skittle. Never saw a future with any of them. This was the first time in my life I literally saw. I'm like, this is strange. Because I never had a white girlfriend before. And I was like, so it's like strange what I'm seeing,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm trusting what I'm seeing. It was strange, but I'm trusting because all of this is domestication. Strange, but I'm trusting. And I saw her being the mother of our children. And I saw her being my wife. And I told her that night. 6 months later, I asked her to marry me. Right after that, we got married. We've been together for 6 years. We have 2 kids together. We're building an extraordinary dynasty. Somebody came up to me the other day. They're like, you're not worried about what the black community gonna say to you because you got a white wife? I was like, let me tell you something. There are certain black men that denounce the black woman. And I'm clear that that's a thing. And they like literally despise black women, so they will date a white woman because their own hatred of the black woman. I said,
Mm-hmm.
that ain't me. For me to do that, I would have to despise my mom, my big mama, and all of the women in the lineage. There's no possible way. It's not even in my nature to do that. I said I operate off of God's love, and God's love doesn't
That's
have
right.
boundaries. And because God love has no boundaries, and that's how I operate, I know when God's love is hitting me. And he was like, yo, that's deep. I was like, this construct stuff, I understand there's a time and place. I'm not there. You know how hard it is to find actual love? Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
Now, put a boundary on it. Now, put another boundary on it. Well, if they're not vegan, and if they're not black, and if they're not white, and if they're not this, and if they're not Christian, if they're not, and then title after title after title, I wonder what the agenda and where that started that continues to keep breaking up the homes of families, locking up men, making sure the women are at home and the men are out. I wonder who takes the heat. The kids. Oh, wait a second. From ages 0 to 7 is where we get programmed. And without a healthy family, regardless of the color, There's broken families everywhere, broken men everywhere, broken women everywhere. Who you think is getting into these relationships with these families and having these broken kids? Maybe was a part of the agenda all along so that we won't actually connect to our real selves.
That's right.
Because the dynamics of a healthy family goes against the average basic kid who starts less than. Why do we live in a suffering world? Where does it start? Childhood. But with a healthy father and a healthy mother with healthy principles and healthy values, and both of them are successful, that's probably not what people who make lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of money off of the suffering actually want. So not only am I here to work with the little kids inside of the adults, my family is here to be an example, while many of our examples have been separated, have been bribed, have been baited. Because I come from the industry, the entertainment industry, I've seen all this shit, only to heal myself, to be like, oh, that's what I was in. Never again.
And it's at the decision making, and the decision making at its core is about the mindset. So even in your decision making, or not even, in your decision making about your family and the way you're going to build your family and with whom you're going to build your family, it comes from a mindset of love. It comes from a place, it comes from fertile ground. So all these folks who are talking have not even in their criticism of other people, a lot of folks are not aware of their ability to also create fertile ground. And that breaks all those boundaries, all those things, those categories that you just mentioned. And if that's about love.
100%.
I said I was going to ask you another question, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. And like really quick, if you had one piece of advice for a person building a new family legacy, having to really, in many ways, build something out of something maybe you didn't experience, what would it be?
Create a game that you actually like playing.
Mm.
Just because it's a tradition and it's traditional, don't mean it has to be your tradition, because the origin of that tradition could have been the origin of the ulterior motive agenda. Very similar to diamonds. It was, I want a diamond, I want a diamond. But most people don't realize that that was an actual marketing plan, that they targeted people that are wedding, and we just do it. It's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It was legit a marketing plan to build up this company that wasn't doing well. So you actually get to create a game that you actually like playing. You create your own tradition. You create it. It's like, I like this. Use that as a buffet. Oh, I like this. I actually don't like this. I know people are working and doing all this because you gotta. No, we like sitting down as a family. We like having no phones. We like having dinner every single night. Why? Because we get to connect and talk. Like the dinner table on a nightly night is a dying breed right now, which means connection is a dying breed. And when the family is broken, I'll tell you what's going to happen to the kids. More of the same, but it doesn't duplicate well down.
Last question. How can we support you, Garrain?
I have a retreat coming up November 1st through the 5th called Artist Power Awaken. And if you feel the fire in your flame come up during this conversation, I wouldn't even call it a podcast. Like if me and my sister were like just straight up talking.
Mm-hmm.
There's more where that fire came, and God has placed it on my heart to create safe spaces where people from all walks of life, they come and they heal and they transform and they amplify and they compress time frames in a high vibrational group where we sing, we dance, we play, we paint through the medium of the child so that you can remember who you really are deep down on the inside. That is November 1st through the 5th here in Austin, Texas. And definitely message. So you can go to my website and you can find out all the details, but it is going to be magnificent. And I would say that's the first place, or on my Instagram, Garrain.Jones, or my website, GarrainJones.com.
I want to thank you so much. This was exactly the right conversation at the right time. I'm so excited for our audience to hear it. And Garrain, you have an amazing heart. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being brave enough to open up your space so that we could share our toys together.